Real time some credit for calling out liberals who will criticize Christians at the drop of a hat for failing to show outrage at some of the ideology in the Muslim world. Ben Affleck called Mahr's point of view racist, but just how accurate is Bill Mahr? Phyllis Chesler is a fellow at the Middle East Forum. She's a Jewish American who married an Afghan student, moved with him to Afghanistan in 1961, where he and his family isolated her, took away her rights, and tried to convert her to Islam. She writes about her experiences in the book, An American Bride in Kabul. Phyllis joins us now. Phyllis, thanks so much for coming today.
It's my pleasure.
First of all, this happened not recently when people think that radical Islam really had sort of taken root, but this was over 50 years ago, so this is not new. What happened to you, and what did you experience when you went back to Afghanistan?
I lived gender and religious apartheid long before there was any Western influence in the place. And what happened is I had no anticipation of what I would find. The plane landed, they took away my American passport, which I never got back, which made me the property of a large polygamous family and the citizen of no country. I discovered that my father-in-law had 3 wives and 21 children, and the courtship with this sophisticated, glamorous Muslim student, he didn't mention this. And I had to live with my mother-in-law, which is pro forma, it's how they do things. In Purdah, I couldn't go out without a male escort and permission, although it is the wild, wild East. I mean, women going out alone are in danger, it's true. And the women were wearing burkas when I was there. Even though the latest king had unveiled them, there they were in claustrophobic, ambulatory isolation chamber body bags. And when I told my Afghan family, my God, you can't believe what I just saw today on the bus, because I was running away, I was escaping as often as I could, they said, oh, what an American overreaction, you know, because what was abnormal to me as a Westerner, as an American, was quite normal to them. My reaction was abnormal.
When you hear people like Ben Affleck say, you know, anybody who criticizes Islam, they're Islamophobic and they're racist.
That is the new McCarthyism coming to us from the left, because the minute you want to have a rational, realistic conversation about Islamic fundamentalism, Islamic terrorism, Islamic apartheid, conversion by the sword, history of slavery, which still exists in many Muslim countries, then what happens is a liberal and a leftist feels that, and they're true believers, they believe you are then a racist and an Islamophobe. Interestingly enough, the FBI in 2012 tells us that the hate crimes in America, 62.4% were against Jews. They were anti-Semitic. And guess how many hate crimes against Muslims in America? 11.6%. So this Islamophobia is McCarthyism, and it's a way of silencing the conversation which Americans must have now.
You know, some Harvard students have had some interesting reactions to this whole issue of, is there Islamophobia? I want you to watch this where we get a reaction from you, Phyllis.
What is a bigger threat to world peace, America or ISIS?
To world peace? Well, America.
I think American imperialism and our protection of oil interests in the Middle East are destabilizing the region and allowing groups like ISIS to gain power.
As a Western civilization, we're to blame for a lot of the problems that we're facing now. I don't think anyone would argue that we didn't create the problem of ISIS ourselves.
Phyllis, you are a college professor. These are students at one of our nation's most prestigious universities. How do you react to hearing students almost say America is more dangerous than ISIS?
Well, they have been, their parents should get the tuition money returned, is what I think.
I bet there's some parents who wish they could have that money back.
Well, yes, no, but this is how Obama thinks. This is how Harvard thinks. It's how Ben Affleck thinks. That now, remember, the barbarism that I endured and witnessed wasn't caused by foreign intervention. It's indigenous to the region, and by barbarism, I mean living under Sharia law, and many Muslims in recent polls want to live under Sharia law, and may it never happen in America. And we are a very religiously tolerant country. We believe, in fact, the Muslims with whom I work believe in a separation of religion and state and freedom of religion. And Sharia law, for example, mandates you murder somebody who dares to leave the religion. And remember the case of Miriam Yahya Ibrahim in Sudan. Pregnant, beautiful woman, wouldn't give up her Christianity, and they nearly killed her.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of Christian activism to get her out and into America with her American husband. So the superstitiousness, the cruelty of being stoned for alleged adultery, for being honor murdered by your father or your husband, and 10 men and women in your family because you didn't veil properly. This is what the wild, wild East is like now.
It is a frightening reality from someone who didn't just talk to a few people, you lived it firsthand. Thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here.